Hey everybody, I'm really excited to have my good friend Leigh Steinberg back on. Leigh, thank you, and I want to thank you for your Wednesday
Wisdom.
blogs, wisdom, because they are wisdom, and I'll touch on that later. But what I want to touch on right now, and it really explains the thumbnail that I selected, is Shedeur Sanders opting to, in a sense, skip the draft and have his own event party at Colorado. And I use that photograph because that's you and your friend and client Patrick Mahomes who did that as well. And Jameis Winston did it. Marcus Mariota did it. But I've never explored what's that all about, and is it does it work into what your objective is? What is the objective? Yeah.
So the NFL invites this year 17 different draft picks back to the site and treats them to a couple days of fun. They have different events. They, in a bigger city, would, like in New York, go out on a boat and see the sights, or they go to some place that's iconic. And they all dress up. The advantage of that is that you've got all the publicity coming out of the draft. The disadvantage of it is there's a limitation on how many people you can bring with you to sit in the table backstage while you're waiting. And so those people that want to include a more expansive group of childhood friends, pastor, uh, high school football coach, friends from the current team, um, relatives in great numbers, can accommodate that by not going. And Paxton Lynch some years ago had his at a bowling alley. Patrick Mahomes had his at a country club, but it gives an opportunity for a greater group. The second thing it does is if a player is perceived to go in position six in the draft, be the sixth selection, he doesn't go till 13. The hot lights are on, and draft time's not real time. I've told you this before. It's water torture time. Every second seems like a minute, and it takes 10 minutes between picks. So to go from the fifth pick projection to be the 13th pick seems like a lifetime of time. And the draft coverage always likes to have the case of the plummeting draft pick and his horrible night he's having. And that may not be something people want to have active on screen. Now, they have cameras in the different front rooms of the draftees or the different country clubs of the draftees. So it's covered, but it's not omnipresent. The other thing that happens is sponsors get involved with draft day parties because they see that they can get publicity. So a Wingstop or a Panini will sponsor the event, pay for the event, and then have their logo behind the athlete. So it's just a different type of experience for those people who want the authenticity of being back there, going out and hugging the commissioner, being on the big stage. That may be a good solution. But for other players, having all their friends and family together, having the sponsorship may be having a little more privacy may be the way to go.
I'm curious. Did this start with Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers was my first NFL draft in 2005. I thought the Niners were going to take him first, as did a number of people. Of course, that didn't happen. He dropped to 25 with the Packers. But, as you pointed out, the theater was literally sitting him, poor man, watching him sitting in just grimacing, and all those grimaces and everything being made to become theater. Was that where it started, that someone said, hey, we're not going to do this anymore like this? We're going to pull him out of there?
Well, the quarterback from Notre Dame, Brady Quinn, had a notable day where he kept dropping, and he was started out in a three-piece suit, and then took the jacket off, and then he took the vest off, and then he took the tie off. And again, that was a traumatic experience. Or Geno Smith, when in the second round when he thought he would go in the first. So they have a lesser number of people coming. They've had as many as 30 coming to Green Bay later this week. But um, but it started early. We had a day in the draft back in 1991 when Russell, Maryland was the first pick and Eric Turner was the second pick. And we did it here in Newport Beach at the Marriott Hotel. And again, same reason, you could have all their extended family there. And we did the same thing again the next year with Russell, Maryland in 1991, and did the same thing when Dan Wilkinson was the first pick in the 94 draft. Then we went back in 95 with Kajana Carter and Kerry Collins from Penn State. They ended up the first and fifth, but they gave us our own separate room, so at least we didn't have to share that intimate moment with a whole group of other families.
Hey, I'm curious as to why. My perspective is a selfish one. I'm sitting there as media, and I realized in 2015, hey, I don't get a chance to interview either Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota because they're not here in Chicago with us, right? And I wondered then, and I wonder now, how come there couldn't have been a like they do for the troops, a live feed interview?
Well, they do it now from whatever the site is. So they'll have a producer in the front room with Shedeur Sanders, and he'll be there. So when he gets drafted, they will interview him. So they do that.
Ah, okay, that's new. That's new. They didn't do that before. Interesting. Very interesting.
More players in significant positions are staying at home.
Yeah, and as a note, this is Leigh. This is NE62 Media's 20th year in a row of being credentialed to cover the NFL draft on site. Unfortunately, I can't go, but 20 straight years. And I want to thank you for being a part of that. It means a lot to me. Now, getting back to our conversation about these events and parties, we talk about the parties as if, oh, it's no big deal, it's easy to put on, it costs nothing. But that's not true, right?
You mean to stay at home?
Yeah.
Of course, it costs whatever the rental is on the place. It costs the food. But generally, people are so excited to have the draft in their venue that they comp all that.
Oh, wow.
And again, as I said, most of them are sponsored. There was a year where they had Beats by Dre being worn by one of the people. I know that Buffalo Wild Wings or Wingstop has done Panini. So most of them are sponsored.
Do you see a time when, in this era of name, image, and likeness, and college players getting their just due? We talked about that for years. But do you see a time where the NFL is going to have to really pony up more money to get the players wherever they are on site than they are doing currently?
There's all sorts of sales things that you can do. Like that year that I had done our own draft away, they said, we'll give you your own room, we'll do that. They're pretty good and pretty persuasive, but they can't get over the fact that wherever they are, they have a finite amount of room. They could increase the number of people that an athlete could bring. That would be attractive. They could provide more entertainment when they're back there. Remember, this evolved from a day when I represented Steve Bartkowski in 1975, and the only way you knew he was drafted is you got a call from the team. There was no radio coverage, there was no television coverage. And the next day you could read who the draft picks were. So this has all evolved into a major off-season branding event for the NFL.
Yeah, where last year at Detroit, they drew a record 775,000 fans over the 3-day period, and I was there. And I still congratulate them every chance I get, a remarkable achievement. But then from what you're saying, if the main players they wanted who draw have big relationships and big followings and big crowds, are we talking about something that maybe should be more like the Super Bowl, or I could argue the NFL's already headed in that direction. What say you?
They already heading in that direction. The amount of press there is stupendous. The impact on the city is large. Now this year it's Green Bay, which is by far the tiniest city in
Yeah.
the NFL. I mean, I think their population is around 300,000, so I doubt they're getting 775. Although it could be the whole state of Wisconsin showing up, and
It shows up in the hotel room prices.
right, uh, uh, it's a fun event. Again, the NFL's found a clever way of making the longest off season of any league because they don't play football for most teams from early January till August. And they found a way between all-star games, the scouting combine, pro scouting days, the free agency, the draft, announcement of the schedule to stay in the spotlight all off-season long.
Hey, related to Shedeur Sanders, why do you think, being a mega expert in this, why do you think Sanders draws so much unusual criticism?
Well, first of all, the one position a general manager or anybody can be most criticized for is selecting a quarterback in the first round. Right. And there have been some real in terms of that. So I think that part of the reason is there's just more coverage. There are just many more websites, many more talk radio, many more television sites, and they need something to talk about. So I think part of it comes from that. I mean, there have been draft picks that have been pilloried in the past, but the other thing is I think you're more conscious of it because of his father and all the rest of it. But look, the key position in football is a franchise quarterback. Whether he goes 3 to the Giants or they take a position player, whether he goes 12 to the New Orleans Saints, if they like him, they have a definite need. They just found out David Carr may not be back.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, Derek Carr, yeah, absolutely.
Look, Derek Carr, his value, the value at the position is such that all of these quarterbacks are going to get pushed up. And they keep talking about bad quarterback year, but I'd be surprised if somebody doesn't reach for Jackson Dart. If quarterback at Alabama, Jalen Milrose, Tyler Show. I mean, don't be surprised if this is all about individual teams falling in love with individual players. Right. And if a team's got the preference, then the thing is, if you wait, you're going to have developmental time. That if you can't solve your franchise quarterback problem, you better prioritize it because it's not like they're going to be instant producers. Occasionally get players who are very good their first year, but by and large, it takes time. So the time to do it is when you can get the player off the board. And so they'll take players who don't have as high a statistical rating off the board quicker because of the position.
You knew Bill Walsh, and I had the pleasure of actually interviewing Bill Walsh in 1994. And our talk about quarterbacks makes me come back to a little bitty issue. It seems to me that there's too much emphasis placed on the quarterback to turn a franchise around, almost to be the offensive coordinator. How do you think Bill Walsh would think about the passing game? My view is that Coach Walsh would come back and just never stop, upchucking over the passing game and the lack of, efficiency. But what do you think about what Coach Walsh might opine about this?
But look, you go back a couple years, and the first round quarterbacks taken were Trevor Lawrence, and he's been up and down. But then you have Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, all of whom to one degree or another underperformed. And so I think his view of it would be that coaching and how you develop the quarterback is critically important and being overlooked. And so they just take the quarterback and they don't think about his supporting cast. They don't prepare the public for the fact it's going to take some time. They let these young first year starters be labeled busts instead of saying, well, wait a minute, they have to go through seeing the field a number of times beforehand because that list I just gave you,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of money spent on scouting, the amount of time spent on scouting, it can't be that they were all bad picks,
Right.
but they weren't developed correctly.
That's a controversy I want to come back to you on, but I want to shift gears right now out of respect for your time and talk about Cal football. Lee, what's going on, man? And I'll
Well,
explain. Maybe I'll explain it for the people who don't know. We
you
brought
have,
in.
you have NIL
Yes.
and a transfer portal, and that's changed college football forever. So when it comes to recruiting, those schools in the top four conferences with big alumni bases that can afford to offer players a huge package going from high school to college are aggregating all the good talent. And then the second bite of the apple is once the player gets to a school, he's got the opportunity to transfer in a transfer portal. And that also is accompanied by big money. So all you need to know is that the best quarterback out of high school in this last crop committed to LSU, where they offered him a $4 million package. And along came a Michigan alum and offered him $14 million. And so he decommitted to LSU and went on there. So the problem that Cal has, they lost their best running back to the transfer portal. Somebody offered him more money. And we just had a situation where the quarterback at Tennessee didn't like his NIL package and held out of spring ball, and he transferred to UCLA. Well, guess what? The UCLA quarterback incumbent just transferred to Tennessee. So anarchy, chaos, and a brand new day. And unless Cal chooses to get into the bidding, they will be left behind.
Is it more a case of us being like Cal, being like the Oakland Athletics? Moneyball, not enough money to keep the players.
It's Moneyball, but it's just a sense of your priorities because look, Cal was formed in like 1866 or 1867.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a massive amount of living alums. So it's just a matter of motivating them. They have major corporations with alums like Levi Strauss, and you can go on and on. And so it's just a matter of, do the alums care enough about the football or basketball program to put major dollars into the NIL? You can argue till your breath runs out that this is not the right priority for college sports. But what you're going to see is that four conferences, including some of the schools in it, will pull away competition-wise from everyone else. And if you're not ready to compete in this game, then you'll end up at a lower level of talent. And it's as simple as that. If you've got 5-star recruits coming to your school, granted, there could be a diamond in the rough, a player could develop that was a lower rated recruit. But by and large, blue chip recruits are who played for Ohio State this year. They had NIL, much of them. You look at their NIL budget, it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and incidentally, they won the national championship.
And now right across the bay, down on the farm, we have Andrew Luck, who is the unquestioned boss of Stanford football. And yet we seem to have a hiccup in sending the right message with respect to General Manager Rivera's responsibility, and he really stepped to the plate and made his voice heard. But having said all that, from that end of it, from the management end, in your view, first of all, are you helping out? I know Bob Haas is involved. Are you involved helping Cal?
No. So, we now have Ron Rivera, a beloved alum and former NFL head coach, as the head there. And, but, I haven't contributed to an NIL package. But if you could still have alums involved in my recruiting, my major value would be to tell a young recruit, you can come to Cal, get a great education, be surrounded by a great group of alums, and guess what? You can be a high draft pick, because we produced a whole series of major stars, in the Aaron Rodgers and Marshawn Lynch's of the world.
Tony Gonzalez.
And you can go on.
Yeah.
Thank goodness most of them, a good chunk of them are my clients, but you can go back through the pantheon, and it's just a matter of that. But look, what I'm telling you is no secret, and they're totally aware of it. But you have a values choice to make on a college campus. Cal's a campus with a whole lot of professors and staff who don't want to see it be a football factory. So you've got that constant counter pressure. What is our academic charge here? What is our mission? And unfortunately, with NILs, it's going to affect that, because when the funding is less for the football and basketball programs, it necessarily is less for women's sports and non-revenue sports, and so it has a ripple effect. But everything that's happening, conference realignment. So you and I walk across Cal from the Campanile, and we look out at the Pacific Ocean. And Cal's now in a football conference that's located in North Carolina, which, if my geography is correct, looks at the Atlantic Ocean.
Yep.
So you've now got longer trips, less ability to have people be good students. You have less geographical rivalries. And All Cal weekend with UCLA playing Cal was a major event.
Yeah.
Where you had virtually an entire campus go from the Bay Area to LA or vice versa.
Yeah.
No All Cal weekend anymore.
No, and not only that, good for the local economies too, when you have that, sports tourism, right? And it just threw it away. Do you ACC another 2 years or 3? I know we have the contract and everything, but it's going to change quickly. And there's rumors. What say you?
So can you repeat the last question?
Do you see us staying in the ACC another 2 to 5 years?
Well, it depends what the alternative is. If Cal was invited to the Big Ten, which now has probably 20 schools in it, they would have gone, because so much of this is just about economics. What can you afford? The reality is that on the West Coast, Stanford and SC have, and I hate to say this, but more motivated alums who are kept closer to the program.
Mm-hmm.
So go to SC, and they've got an interwoven system of helping young graduates in construction, and you go to something like Fox Sports, and they have 1 million interns from campus. They do a better job of holding their alums close. So does SC. It's like, so does a school like Harvard, not in a sports context, but that was the basis for which they were willing to defy the president because they got a $55 billion endowment.
Hey, that reminds me of a story. I remember Irrelevant Week 2012. I remember the late Paul Salata and his daughter Melanie. They're coming up. This is an appropriate time to talk about that in some sense. But I mention it because you being the major drawer of the contract for Mr. Relevant was at the dinner at this giant hall, and the late John Robinson was the MC of this, and I was sitting in back with Julie Bueller, and it seemed like the whole place was either dominated or infested by USC alums. I'm a Cal alum. You're a Cal alum. We suffered. This is what I did, though. You might remember this.
So when I moved from Berkeley to Newport Beach, they have a checkpoint at the 73 coming into Newport Beach, where you go on Newport Boulevard, and they check and see if you have the obligatory license plate on the back, which says USC alum, and if you don't, you have to go through like immigration.
Well, at this event, Lee, we're at the back, okay, and you were sitting to my right on the high table over there, and I heard this fight on and blah blah blah, and I yelled, "Go Bears!" And Coach Robinson, rest in peace, said, "Who the hell was that?" And I said, "I did." He goes, "Get the fuck out!" They're going to kill me.
Yeah, I live in.
But Julie had big guns, so I thought I was protected. So
we live in SC heaven.
Lee, thanks for the time. Any predictions we should look out for the draft? You're doing something, by the way.
I am.
Talk about it with yeah.
Randy Mahomes, Patrick's mother, is having a luncheon for the mothers that'll be back there of the draft picks. And so I'm supposed to give them a keynote speech. I think I'll talk to them about the concept of role modeling, the concept of safeguarding their son's health, and the concept of planning for second career.
Is that going to be on live stream or anything, or picked up later that we can all watch that? Or
I don't know. It's the first time for the event, so we'll see. I mean, I think as to the draft, Cam Ward clearly is the first pick. Then you got two position players, Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter, who are really high. And then the running back, Ashton Genty. And I think they'll all be top picks, and don't be surprised if you've got another couple quarterbacks besides Shedeur go in the first round.
Wow. Lee, stick around in the background. Thank you for your time. Everybody, at 7 o'clock on draft day, Anthony Carrillo and I start our 20th year celebration. So join us and subscribe. We have a new URL. It's with the first pick, not firstpick.com. I bought it for a song. All right.
That's a good URL.
Yeah, absolutely. Stick around, Lee. Don't move a muscle. I got you. All right.